ももちゃん離れて。
行くわよ。
Hi there everyone, Scott and Lars back with another review and analysis for Dandadan, but this time you get basically the double mint treatment because we are covering 2 episodes. Hallelujah! Cue the Mozart and Beethoven.
Oh man, that was wild. Just wild. But yeah, life gets wild, and that's kind of why we're having to go in together on this episode. Though I'm not minding it as much because I feel like these 2 episodes specifically like really work well together.
Now they absolutely do. So without any further ado, let's just dive into this. So the events of these 2 episodes really rapid fire like because it is really fast when you stop to think about it. We pick up with Okarun being dragged into the cafe, the maid cafe that Momo's working at. She is not happy with her friends at all. It's great. The teasing is all there. And she's just dying from embarrassment. But it's so cute. All of the maid shenanigans going on. And it gets really sweet because when it's time for her to go home, Okarun shows up, not to tease her, but to escort her on home. What a gentleman. That's a very Ken Takakura thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, while this is happening, Gigi is undergoing his own kind of special training to try to control the evil eye. And it seems to be going over pretty well. Using the technique of centering his chi, he's able to deal with room temperature liquids, at least a little bit. And so it seems like some real progress is being made. Unfortunately, when Momo and Okarun arrive back at her place, water gets on Gigi. The evil eye comes out, and the evil eye is already just primed to go and nearly kills Momo, except that Momo manages to get some water into her mouth ahead of time that she then spits out in his face when he gets too close, reverting Gigi back to normal. And the monk that came over from the hot, well, not the monk, but the priest that came over from the hot springs, like, look, we just need to exorcise the evil eye already. This needs to be done. Things are getting way too dangerous, and the family falls into the kind of this morose state after putting in all this effort to try to work together as a family, as friends, to support Gigi in his decision to not exorcise the evil eye. It seems like all of that hard work is really for nothing. And Okarun especially, feeling like he's absolutely incapable of helping in any meaningful way, talks with Turbo Granny. He's like, Turbo Granny, how can I get stronger? Can you teach me how to punch? Turbo Granny's like, those are not the same thing. What do you want? You want to get stronger? Because I can teach you how to do that. And that leads to Turbo Granny having Okarun sneak into the school with Aira following. And I love the interactions between Aira and Turbo Granny. This is just great. Mm-hmm. Spoiled brat versus evil grandma stuffed in a cat. It's perfect. And they are subjected to the nightmares that students have dreamt up of dreading their music lessons, embodied in the cold gazes of all of these classic composers who are brought to life and force a battle. And all of this is because Turbo Granny explains to Okarun, look, you're moving way too slow. You've got my power and you're moving way too slow. The evil eye, within a measure, can hit so many notes. And that's why you can't fight the evil eye, because you're just way too slow. But if you're using my powers, you should be able to move even faster, put in more notes, and overwhelm his proverbial music, and thereby defeat the evil eye. You just need to figure out how to find your own rhythm, your own beat, your own music that you are going to fight to. And Okarun's like, I don't even know music really all that well, which leads to a fantastic revelation where he's like, wait a second, I just recently went to a heavy metal concert, which was an exorcism, but that music was amazing. I was rocking out. And Okarun taps into the heavy metal music of the exorcism and begins tearing into the spirits that are summoned by all of the fears that kids have of their music lessons. And to be all honest, I think I would probably be one of those kids that helps to contribute to those fears. But
Yeah.
I never took music classes because I'm a horrible musician, and I cannot read music. I can sing, but I can't read music. So I've never taken music classes. But in any case,
I
Aira,
have, and I can confirm.
you can confirm Shakespeare, not Shake. I say Shakespeare, not Shakespeare. Beethoven is glaring down at you with all of the contempt
Mm-hmm.
and anger and disappointment.
Yep.
Yeah, so we get a really weird, like, I'll be honest, it's a really weird battle that changes venues, different notes do different things, giant dummies of opera singers that spew out clones of shadow people. This is a very just dawn fight, completely over the top. And Aira and Okarun work together to get to the musicians, where Okarun then does basically the same thing he did to Evil Eye earlier and just uppercuts them all, headbangs them to death. And so he now feels he's ready to take on the Evil Eye, which is good because at this point, it looks like the exorcism is going to have to go through. The Evil Eye is going to have to be expunged. And when Okarun and Aira return, Okarun's like, I'm going to fight the Evil Eye right here, right now. Aira splashes Gigi, and the Evil Eye comes out to play, and it's a cliffhanger for the big fights.
So storytelling wise, I really got to get into something that I picked up on is specifically this last episode, so episode 20. But like you kind of had the build up, he actually had the reasoning behind it in episode 19, but it's a training arc. And we're so used to seeing these like training arcs where there's so much music happening and you're just seeing little clips of how they're training to get better. The very much the Rocky, I'm gonna be the best kind of vibe to it. This one it's in that same vein, but there's actual dialogue happening, there's actual story happening, and we're having this epic, ridiculous, goofy fight at the same time. It's very much Dandadan's way of like subverting and doing it their own way of that classical like musical training arc that we see in so many other shows. And it's genius. It's so much fun. It's very much it's very Dandadan. Like that's the only real description I can give it. It's very Dandadan the way it handles that.
And that's going to be added to like just the part of the overall lexicon. This is just so very Dandadan.
We're gonna catch ourselves saying that, like in other shows, like in other places. Just that's very Dandadan. That's so very Dandadan.
Yeah, effectively take something that you expect, take something that's tried and true, and just flip it on its head in the most insane way possible. And I would say I really do like that. Because training arcs are fun, but the thing is that they've been done so often that it feels more like it's an obligatory thing that you just have to get through. Like you can enjoy them, but then you're just like, but I know I'm going to enjoy what happens next so much more. So can we speed it up a little bit? And granted, this training arc really only encompasses an episode and some change before we get to the big fight. But there is a ton delivered to us in this training arc. And another thing I love is that Okarun has not opened up any other new powers. Anyone who is going into this thinking that Okarun is now going to go all out 3 times or develop a new final form, nope. Okarun can still only go all out twice. Okarun has got no new special abilities, but Okarun now better understands how to utilize Turbo Granny's speed into something that's now truly vicious.
Right. But I think there's an important thing that's built up here, because like we've only seen it like in bits and pieces going forward. It's something that like Okarun's unlocked like in the heat of the moment when he really needed it. But we're starting to notice like when he actually has the motivation and the will for it, Turbo Granny's powers get a whole lot stronger through him. And so like we saw that like with his initial clash with the evil eye, where like he's like counting up as he's like beating the heck out of the evil eye and all that kind of stuff in his little cursed house. And like the colors change and everything, and it's just insane. Like love that fight. But now we're seeing Okarun actually take the steps necessary to motivate himself beforehand, to actually like be able to use that in a regular sense. And it's noticeable at the end of episode 20 because he's getting ready to fight the evil eye. It's setting up for the next episode where they're going to have this epic showdown, like knockout, drag out fight. And instead of like his normal catchphrase is like, oh, this is like a real bummer, it's like, that's badass. I'm going to take this on. And it's like, I mean, this whole 2-episode arc so far, at least the 2 episodes we're talking about, like it's been building up to that moment. It's all been training. It's all been Okarun trying to figure out how to help his friends. And now he's like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take charge. I mean, and of course they're still teenagers. Of course they're still going to have their own crazy moments where they have to deal with normal teenage drama. And we saw plenty of that this episode. But like for the stuff that matters with like the spiritual and like all the crazy stuff happening to them, Okarun's all in.
And an interesting thing to bring up in terms of his confidence, because Okarun by the end of episode 20 is just, he's brimming with confidence. It's so cool to see. You're like, yes, yeah, that's what we want to see out of you, young man. At the same time, he is still the guy that can get all blushy and awkward by being dragged to his crush's place of work and having to deal with a bunch of maids and doing the Kokoro beam. Woo! Make that omelet taste delicious. It's great to see that, because just simply gaining experience in terms of combat does not make you suddenly an overall more confident person. And I feel like that's something that, I mean, that kind of goes without saying, but I feel like earlier shonen shows that tried to show how you took like a wimp and made them suddenly really powerful, that they just suddenly became great at everything. It's like, no, Okarun's only really getting better at using Turbo Granny's powers. Okarun is nowhere near ready to be like, hey, Momo, you want to go out on a date with me? That poor kid would like shatter 1,000 different ways if you try to make him do that.
Okarun's such a great example of, there's a like character concept I really like. It's called an Iron Wooby. Have you ever heard this before?
I've never heard this one, no.
Okay. So a Wooby in general, so Woobie, I believe is the spelling for it. Either that or it's a Y at the end. But it's like these characters that are always getting beat up. They're always getting picked on. They're always like the butt of the joke. So either physically or mentally, they're always like taking the abuse. And in this sense, Okarun kind of fits into that. The catch is, if you have an Iron Wooby, there's a mix of like stoicism in there. There's a mix of like, I'm not going to be beat down by this. I can overcome this. Even though they may actually not be able to like overcome it by themselves normally, like it doesn't matter. Their willpower is not going to die out. And Okarun's kind of falling into that sentiment. I mean, like, I'm not saying he's not effective and able to like handle the fights, but like you see him get beat down quite a bit this episode, but he still gets back up. He still keeps charging on. It's very much that underdog kind of feel to it. And it's fun to see that, like seeing him build up to that. And I imagine it's going to change from that Iron Wooby kind of character to something more confident, something more interesting. And I do like how I'm starting to notice like color palette changes when he's using Granny's powers, and like that confidence shows through. It's really fun to see.
Say I'm going to hold back from spoilers, obviously, but one of the things that I will say with Okarun is that I absolutely love his transformation as a character, because even though like Momo is the main character of Dandadan, and she's the one who really drives the story forward, Okarun gets some of the best character development throughout the series. He goes through some really crazy twists and turns, and it's great to see how a core sense of kindness and eagerness remains as a constant, and of course his nerdiness. Like those are just constants throughout, but how his confidence builds, his ability to interact with other people, even if he's not always the most confident, he learns like some great social graces, and his rough edges get smooth, and what was really great about him just becomes all the better. And this training arc, and especially how he deals with Evil Eye in the upcoming episode, which we haven't yet seen, but if you've read the manga, you already know what's about to occur. This is a phenomenal step forward for Okarun, and it is brilliant payoff as well for what we saw in the previous episode, where when Evil Eye nearly kills Momo, Okarun snaps at Gigi. Like he's angry. And you kind of get this feeling almost as if that Okarun is there to just pound the snot out of Gigi in like as payback, but especially get at the Evil Eye. And what we'll see of Okarun coming up is brilliance. It's a brilliant way of maintaining his character while also allowing him to step forward, which for many writers, I think it is that we feel that because our characters must progress, therefore they must change, and their core personality starts going out the window the longer the story goes along until they become someone or something else. And there's plenty of other writers who are like, yeah, that's exactly what needs to happen. But not always. You don't need to adhere to the hero's journey archetype where supposedly the person, when they return home, is so vastly changed that it's hard to tell that they're the same person. Okarun, in a very Dandadan way, goes kind of in a different direction. And that is being set up in these episodes.
Speaking of like character progression though, like and I loved all the other characters. We had very touching moments, very cute, very interesting moments from everybody. But I think within these two episodes, the other character that got the most character progression is actually Aira. Because we get to towards the end of episode 20, they just survived the like evil composers and have this like touching moment where like Okarun and Aira are kind of having this little heart to heart, and Aida is expecting herself to just have the same cutesy little answer that she normally does, but she can't do it. Like her actual feelings come forward, and she finds herself like falling in love with Okarun a little bit more. And it's like interesting to see her character changing as progress, because she's part of the group. She's more than willing to help them like through the trials that they're facing. But like she goes through this trial with Okarun in the music room, and she's like, it knocks her out of her normal reactiveness, her normal way of doing things, and it puts her in this situation where she's like, oh, I have to actually push through this as myself, not the persona that I've created for myself. And it's a very stunning scene. I absolutely love that scene. I mean, I
Yeah.
know it's kind of pushing the ship between the two of them, and it's not necessarily a ship that I support, but it's cute to see, and I am enjoying watching it at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing is that, like, as you point out, like, she is falling more for him. But what is
Mm-hmm.
great about it is that it's no longer so much in your face kind of a thing. It's
Yeah.
it's a step towards being more vulnerable as well as being more honest. Because rather than being
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, it was really just you. You're so great, Takakura," it it's rather than responding with a positive, she actually responds. If I recall correctly, she actually responds with with a more weary and worried reaction, like
Mm-hmm.
allowing herself to show exhaustion while also expressing concern for him, which is way more honest than just praising the fact that he beat up these evil composers, because he didn't do this for praise. He did this to get stronger. And so the concern is, did you reach your goal? And that's a very beautiful and mature way of approaching their relationship.
Yeah, I really like what I saw there. I mean, I really enjoyed the start of episode 19 in the maid cafe. It's super cute and enjoyable to see that. But out of anything in these two episodes, like when you're actually looking at romance, that's like that hits harder.
It absolutely does. And though she's hardly in these episodes, if we'll be all honest, because again, this is
True.
very much focusing on Okarun. Momo
Mm,
also has, I think, a really special moment to shine at the end of episode 20, where
yeah.
she stands up to Okarun. She thinks he's about to do something that's going to be awful. And even though she knows, I mean, she was on the receiving end of Evil Eye trying to murder her because she's the one who is the most danger to him, at least that he can perceive in the moment. Uh,
Hmm.
so it, like, she's got real reason to be concerned, especially for herself, and she still stands between Okarun and Gigi, and pushes back against the guy that she's got feelings for, which again is, I feel, a fantastic portrayal of a very realistic relationship, either romantic or
Hmm.
platonic. Of like, no, I don't
Hmm.
agree with this. And Gigi is my really good friend. Gigi made a choice. We decided all together that we would support Gigi. This can't be right. That we were going to throw all of this away just because of one mistake, which the
Hmm.
more logical side of the brain says Momo that's being a little bit dumb, but then again, Momo's a teenager. And
True.
and making those kinds of promises, being together as friends, doing something that they see as great. I mean, yeah, then either saying that you're going to bring back the Exorcist, or have Okarun show up and go full turbo on Gigi. Either option just sounds like a betrayal of everything that they went through in the previous episodes.
Ralph, are you going turbo? I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
Yes. Yes, it is I.
But like seriously though, the character progression and seriously the last three episodes have been fantastic. I mean, we finally get a lot of like the crazy Dandadan fight scene in like this current episode, but like we're we're falling in love with these characters again. We're really caring what happens to them, and so the stakes going into this epic fight with Evil Eye is like higher than ever,
Mhm.
and I love it.
I'm going to be honest. I did not really appreciate this arc as much as I should have when I first read the manga, because I was
Mm,
so caught up with how amazing the hot springs arc was, with the
oh yeah.
fight and everything. It was just so intelligent, so smart, and it was so big. This is boiling it all down to a very personal level. We haven't really gone much of anywhere. The vistas have been, they're the same. The only real
Hmm.
change has been during the fight with the evil composers and how they changed the venue magically. So
Hmm.
this arc feels way smaller, way more personal, which sometimes after a very grandiose, very adventurous arc, it's kind of hard to step back into that smaller space.
Yeah.
But coming back to it again, you realize that everything that's happening here is just the continuous payoff to all of the adventuring that happened before, and that
Hmm.
this moment is what makes the hot springs actually worth it.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I'm excited. I'm so excited for this next episode. It's it just like these last two episodes just really got me motivated. Really kind of woke up something inside me, and I'm so excited to see what happens in this next ep.
Oh, yeah, you're going to have a good time. Real quick before we close out, have you seen the trailer for the last few episodes of this season?
Um, no, I didn't know there was a trailer for
Yeah,
like
no,
that.
I didn't realize either. It got recommended to me recently, and I was like, oh, well, look at that. And I am surprised, actually, that we're taking a big step into the kaiju arc
Okay.
before this season ends. Like, I thought that they were going to kind of stretch things out. Nope, we are going full speed, which I would think means then that for the next episode, like, be prepared to just strap in and just be like, okay, like, it's going to be like a roller coaster ride. Is what I'm guessing. That they
Nice.
are going to hit so much, and they're going to hit hard, and it's also going to have one of the coolest, like, artistic moments. There's a panel
Mhm.
from the manga that is just chilling and so badass, and I cannot wait to see them animate it.
I'm getting excited. I'm really excited for this. This will be great.
Well, so with all of that said, now is the time for us to hear from you what your thoughts are about the show with the latest episodes. What do you think about the characters, the character progression, the way that tropes have been handled, and so forth in the show so far? I mean, we really enjoy it, but we'd like to hear everyone else's thoughts as well, even if you disagree with us, because having that dialogue is important. It's one of the ways that we
Hmm.
learn together. And if you'd like to further support what we do here, please make sure that you are subscribed to our channel and that you've clicked the bell icon so you can receive the notifications for all of our future videos, especially when we come out with our review for the next episode of Dandadan. And if you'd like to support all the work that we do even further, especially monetarily, because it doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. But if you wish to support us with monies, then please check out the books that we've published. Links for them are in the description below. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us on this crazy awesome adventure that we call writing. And until the next video, y'all, choose.
Okini.